Hello, this is Romanosky from the Distinctive Collection in Calgary, Canada, and welcome to our lovely Bentley showroom here. Now, just about every car in here is a Continental Series car, and that's the one that was created by the new car created by the Volkswagen Audi group when they purchased the company in the late 1990s. So these Continentals would have come out in 2004, and they would have sold for Bentley relatively large quantities. They would have saved the company. They're modern cars, German cars really underneath, with a British body and British interior, four-wheel drive, 550 to 621 horsepower, and they're very competent, everyday, all-around cars with performance and comfort and safety and all the things that you'd expect in a $300,000 car. But we also have a couple of different cars, and these are old school Bentleys. These are the flagship cars, and what we're looking at here is a Azure T. Now this car is decidedly old school. It's glorious. It couldn't be said that it's as well-rounded as the Continental cars. It has an old school V8 turbocharged engine. It has a two-wheel drive instead of four-wheel drive. It has an infotainment system that at best I think you could consider an afterthought. But what this car has that the others don't have is exclusivity, and the fact that it was they've been very, very carefully and lovingly handmade in every respect. So where just about all cars will fit on some sort of an assembly line, and they'll have some sort of just-in-time inventory, and there'll be components that have been built up somewhere else from other suppliers, and they'll be on a rack of some sort or a cart of some sort, and be moved around a U-shape factory, and workers will install the parts. Even though many of those parts are handmade, there's still an assembly line. And if you look at any manufacturer with sort of volume in a 3 to 10,000 range, and that would include Aston Martin and Ferrari and Maserati, etc., and the Bentley Continentals. I mean, that's how they'd be made. But this Continental isn't made like that. When I saw it in the factory, it just sat in the middle of the floor. I mean, everybody came over to the car and worked on it. There was no assembly line for this car. This car was made, how they would make cars, I would say not really much has changed since the 1930s. It's amazing, it's expensive. This car is over $450,000. But if you saw the way it was made, you would wonder how they could make it at that cheaply. And in fact, they can't, because if this was the way that Rolls and Bentley had made cars when they were one company, and they were slowly going out of business. And it wasn't until the Volkswagen Audi group came in with a new, more modern product that those two marks exist at all. I've never seen so many spot welds in my entire life. The parts that are built from the ground up are these bits of sheet metal, and it's almost like each one of them is not more than a couple of feet square, and they're hand spot welded together. I mean, this car is built by a few men and women over the course of, if it takes 3 hours to build a Toyota Yaris, I think it takes 3 months to build this car. So each individual part is hand formed. The interior is really a work of art, and it really shows when you get in. First of all, it's huge. No ingress and egress issues here, but it's beautifully sumptuous and turned out. I mean, it'll take Bentley 15 hours of hand stitching just to make the steering wheel. I mean, it'll take longer for Bentley to make a steering wheel than it will Toyota to make an entire car. So you've got unusually for a four-seat convertible, you've got lots of space in the back, With the top down, I mean, you can just get in and walk into the car. The powertrain of the car is going to be quite a bit different than the Continental Series cars, with its old school V8. Now, this V8 engine is a derivative of the Rolls-Royce Bentley 6.2 liter V8 engine that was expanded to 6.75, and it still retains that displacement. This engine came out for the Silver Cloud 2 in 1958. Now, it's been comprehensively reworked since then, and I don't think that there are any parts from 1958 that you could install in this engine. But the architecture of the engine goes back to '58, and some of the architecture of the car goes back to even the Silver Shadow of the mid '60s. So it's by no means, no stretch of the imagination, a modern car. Although it, I like to think of this car as a modern classic, because the new cars just don't feel like this one. So a 6.75 liter twin turbo V8, 500 horsepower, over 700 pound-feet of torque, and what this offers is, I guess, what you could call waftability. I mean, with almost no RPMs at all, it'll dig in with 500 pound-feet of torque and send you away effortlessly with no revs. So the Continental Series will, they'll ultimately make more power, but that power comes with engine revolutions, and with the engine revolutions comes noise, and relatively speaking, a bit less refinement. So this car, it only revs to, the red line's only at 4,500 RPM, and really in day-to-day driving it probably doesn't see anything over about 2,000 RPM. So it doesn't make any noise, it just wafts along, and the suspension isn't tuned to be, go through corners at 250 kilometers an hour like a Continental's. The suspension and the rims and the tires are all optimized to offer, outstanding low-speed comfort. So, of course, this isn't trying to be a sports sedan. It's not trying to be sporty. It's trying to deliver you and your many friends, your many lucky friends, somewhere with the most style and with the most comfort. So this car now is at the end of its life. In fact, it's out of production. So it's soldiered on with a couple of different body styles, but essentially soldered on since, I would say, the Silver Shadow in the '60s in one form or another, updated through the years for safety and emissions, and finally this old girl that would never have a chance if it wasn't for the revenue created by the Continental Series. It would just never be a viable proposition. Is finally out of production and making this the last of the line, an Azure T Bentley convertible. So it's a glorious old thing. If somebody says, which is a better car? Well, of course, the newer Continental is better in the sense of all the empirical numbers and so forth. Which car do I want to go travel around in? Well, I want this car. This is more special. I don't care about the infotainment. This is the one that delivers the full old school Bentley experience. This is the car. This is the handmade car, it's special today, and there won't be anything quite like it. In this big series of V8 cars, there was a coupe called the Brooklands, and the convertible called the Azure T, and then there was the Arnage, which is the sedan. And so now there's a new family of cars out, and it starts with a sedan, and this is the Mulsanne, which is over here. So I'll do a separate video of it, And in time, we'll have a coupe and a convertible version of this car. But the Mulsanne now is the first all-new Bentley since pre-war, I guess. And this is the replacement, and a very worthy one at that. So I'll do a video of this a bit later, but I wanted to show you some pictures of our Bentley showroom and the lovely old-school large parade float of a car, the Bentley Azure T, and that if you're in a position where you don't really need to care about practicality, and you don't really need to have a car that does more than one thing, presumably because you have lots of cars, and you just want a very comfortable, very large, open, 4-seat touring car. It doesn't get any better than that. Anyway, thanks for viewing. Lawrence Romanosky, The Distinctive Collection in Calgary, Canada. And if you'd like to come and take a closer look at the car, I'd be happy to show it to you in more detail. Thank you very much, and have a good day.